Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Flying on Eagle's Wings. And this is Sandy. Good to see you all again. Today's topic is going to be on marriage. Good marriages, bad marriages. What does marriage mean? So, first, we're going to define what marriage is. I'd like to pray first, if that's all right. Dear Lord, I just come before you in praise and glory and adoration for who you are, all that you do for us, for your protection. In Jesus' mighty name, I ask that you watch over each and every listener, those that will listen in the future, and pray that hedge of protection around them. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, I'm going to get my glasses on. Again, just like I said in my last YouTube, I'm not wearing any makeup right now, so I'm a la natural. And I had laser eye surgery, and it's best that I wear no makeup for a while until that gets all healed. Don't want to put anything, that would cause an infection or anything. Okay, let's define marriage. I'll go to my notes first. Okay, the dictionary reference to marriage. The legality or formality recognized union of two people as partners in a personal relationship. And historically, and in some jurisdictions, there is a union between man and woman or a happy marriage. So I will go on to my notes here. Marriage is also called a matrimony or a wedlock. It's culturally and legally recognized union between people called spouses. It establishes rights and obligations between them, as well as between them and their children, and between them and their in-laws. So, what is the purpose of a marriage? Well, number one, who designed marriage? Marriage was designed by God. And it serves three primary purposes: for companionship, God says, let not man be alone; procreation, to have children; and redemption. Well, in this day and age, people, the national average of marriage, there is actually 19.9 years, or rounded off 20 years, that people stay in marriage. Or a typical marriage can also last 22.3 years. I'm going into the divorce rates in 2023. I'll pull up those notes. Okay, those are quotes. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, things that you can do in your marriage. You can, with each year, you can buy something to mark the occasion of your first, second, third, fourth anniversary. You can have a classic movie night. You can have a dress-up date night or sunrise or sunset date with your spouse. Or you can have the anniversary of your first date. You can also have a date night, like I said before, or go to a concert together. Okay, here's another definition of marriage. It's the state of being united as spouses in a consensual and contractual relationship recognized by the law. And now I'm going to give you some notes. There's 5 marriage definitions, and I'll let you know What is the true meaning of marriage? Well, number one, it's God ordained. And in a marriage, there's always God is the center and the husband and the wife. And that's the marriage. Okay. All right. Let's see here. No, I don't want to do that. Okay. Marriage can mean different things to people according to their belief systems, their opinions. So that it can mean different things to many different people. The true marriage of meaning, though, given the fact that there's differing viewpoints on the subject of marriage, and people often disagree about what marriage means to them. Oxford Dictionary definition of marriage is the legality or formality recognized union of two people as partners in a personal relationship. Now, I said that before, and I'm just repeating it. But in the biblical sense, marriage is defined as a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. So Christians often view marriage as a holy covenant before God, and it seems that the understanding that people become one unit. So it says, and the two of them shall become one. So when you get married and you have sex, you become one unit. And you pledge your love for each other in a general consensus across most believers. But it is argued that most people would buy into the fact that marriage is the sharing of two lives, bonding their spirits, bodies, souls in union. This we can explore 5 different definitions of what marriage could mean in an endeavor to move forward for the definition of marriage. Well, number 1, marriage is an agreement. You two are agreeing to have a long life together, and they agree to it. I'm going to go a little further with my notes here. In some belief systems, that agreement was often made by family members of the happy couple. Nowadays, it's generally agreed that two people who are to become married decide for themselves. Years ago, they used to have the prearranged marriages where the parents picked out the spouse for them. But once two people have decided that marriage is for them, they decide upon what their true meaning of marriage is. Often the couple will discuss the topic of what legal marriage and contract they will use. Important agreements involve whether to have children. Do they want children? Yes or no? Are you in agreement of that? And if so, what faith to raise the children, what marriage means to them as a couple. Well, another thought is marriage should mean to let go of your selfishness. When you're joining two people, there has to be some level of compromise. Once you get married, it's no longer I, it's we. When you were a single person, you may have been able to do whatever you wanted when you wanted. That pleased you. But when you're married, you take the other person, your spouse, into consideration of what their needs are, or their wants are, or their desires are. And you need to think what makes them happy. So you do this. You always negotiate. You know, if the husband is looking out for the wife and the wife is looking out for the husband, and you're praying together. You always start your day and end your day in prayer and reading the Bible. Um, so, what is a good marriage? What is the best marriage? Well, number one, you're joined and you're equally yoked with one another in your belief system. You both know God and He's part of the union of the marriage. And you're committed to making your spouse happy. So you let go of the priority of it's all about me and settle. And in regard to that, you let go of your selfishness and prioritizing your partner of what they want. If they're looking out for your best interest and you're looking out from there, it's a win-win situation. Okay. So yes, the two become one, and that is scriptural. And when you're married together, you number one, when you're born, God gives you a purpose in life. And when the two of you are married, God not only gives you a purpose for your life, but also your spouse. And it's in unison about moving forward. You know, be fruitful and multiply, God says in His Word. And marriage is something where people change and they grow. They look out for their spouses. So, again, if the husband is looking out for the wife's welfare and happiness, and the wife is looking out for the husband's welfare and happiness, it's a win-win situation. But some of the problems you can have in a marriage, well, maybe you're struggling to connect with your spouse. There is no connection between the husband and wife. You have two different views. I want my way, and each of you want your way. And you're not willing to compromise and to look for the interests of the other person. Or if something goes wrong, there's always blaming the other person and not assuming personal accountability for our own actions. Um, let's see here. Okay, now I'll take that out, my notes. Okay. Okay, what does God say about a biblical marriage? Okay, my notes. Here we go. It's popping up here. Okay, that's something totally different, so I'll get rid of that note. Okay, what is a bad marriage? We described a good marriage and a God-given marriage. Let's also describe a difficult or abusive marriage. Well, in 1 Corinthians 7, verse 28, Paul writes, those who marry will have troubles. That's what Paul told us in the Corinthian church. Again, 1 Corinthians 7:28. Even the best couples struggle to protect their marriage vows. But what happens when a marriage trouble becomes unbearable to the point of which couples just can't get along or live together? At that point, I think you have to also discern the minor problem from a major problem. And okay, I'm going to get out of those notes. But in a bad marriage, you can turn it around. You can pray about it. You can pray together. You can read the Bible together. You can go to your pastor for counseling. You can go to, you know, marriage counseling. And, to be a successful marriage, you got to communicate. You can't close up. You can't put the problem, whatever it is, on the shelf. Yes, put it on the shelf maybe for a day or two if you're both upset about it, and then the emotions are flying high. Put it on the shelf, but bring it down, when God shows you to do so. And communicate to that person your feelings. And the communication is so vital important. That's what makes for a marriage is communication. Even friendship, of course, communication. Um, and let your spouse know that you're thankful for having him or her in your life. And you got to take time. You got to go on a date night, whatever day of the week it is or time it is. Uh, so you got to plan. You got to plan for dates. You got to plan for time alone together and have personal time, not only as a couple, but you need that personal time alone. You're not actually glued to the other person. You can still be who God made you to be and still have personal time alone. But again, there's still the couple date night. Um, and it's okay to disagree. Not everybody thinks the same way or has the same perceptions. And you want to constantly build that trust between you and your spouse. And the most important thing, learn to forgive. That's so important to forgive. People will do things and they don't mean to do them, or maybe they do. So you got to pray about that too. But still, number one, forgive. And again, the 5 traits that you're in a good marriage is communication of all. Yeah, you got to have communication, commitment, kindness, acceptance, and love. And I may add the 6th one, which is forgiveness. And be considerate. Treat your spouse as you would want to be treated. So you share love, you nurture with fondness and admiration. You turn to each other instead of away from each other when there's a situation. Again, the key is communication. And solve your problems together. Take it to the Lord, pray together. And try to overcome those gridlocks within your marriage. Okay, go on a little bit. And one of the biggest number one rule people say in a marriage is respect. Respect your spouse. Even if you're disagreeing and you're in an argument, you're fighting, you still want to respect each other. That'll help things work out. And it's very important to keep calm and things so they're not blown out of the water, so to speak. Can't get out those notes there. Okay, here's some tips. I'm going to go through those. Okay, the divorce rate for young couples between 20 and 25 years of old is 60%. It's a very high rate. You always want to set goals and make plans together. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Commit time to your marriage and your spouse. And your marriage is, God is number one, your marriage is number two. And always be flexible and learn to compromise. Share and be open with your finances. Don't keep things hidden or secret. And be courteous and learn together as a young married couple. And have boundaries. Each of you, need to have boundaries so there's no addictions, abuse, or codependence. And pay attention to the little things about your spouse. He may buy her a rose. She may buy him tickets to a baseball game, whatever he likes, or, gift card to lunch when he's at work. And touching is always good. Put your arms around each other or just pat on them and say, have a good day. I'm going to miss you. And never, never go to bed angry. Another one, be committed to your marriage. Don't become friends with another man. If you're the wife, don't be best friends with some fella. They always say in an affair, it starts out as a friendship and goes into an affair. And same as the husband. Don't have female friends. Don't do things separate with them because it can get out of bounds. And always keep God in the center of your marriage. Okay, now I'm going to get out of that. I have a lot of notes on that. Let's see here. Okay, I guess those are all the notes that I had. But the important thing I think is communication, loving one another. You may be upset, but it's important to talk. And if you're that upset, then by all means, as an older person, from the experience I've had in my life, it's better to say, okay, I don't agree with you right now. I know we're both upset with this. Let's put it on the shelf. And, when we're both in a better frame of mind, let's take it off the shelf and we can discuss it at great length. But the key always is to love one another, forgive one another, and always communicate, always be committed, and don't put a third person in your relationship. The only people that should be, again, is God, the husband, and the wife. And that's it. No boyfriends, no girlfriends. It really, and no in-laws. You love them. You love the in-laws dearly. But they should not be getting into the marriage along with other people, because then it can add to a section, into problems, sexual relationship with someone outside of the marriage, and that's called adultery, and we don't want to go there. And sometimes if things don't work out, it's okay to say, again, let's just, rest, let's wait on it. And so many people now get mad at their spouse for one reason or another and say, okay, we're not getting along, we're going to divorce. God says he hates divorce. But if you do so, separate. It's okay. God calls you to peace. And we don't know that as a people. We don't know that we have that option. But sometimes it's like a knee-jerk reaction when emotions are flying and things are going wrong. It's best, again, to put that situation, pray. Number one, forgive the spouse, pray. And if you have to separate for a while, it's okay, but don't bring in a third party, extramarital affair. For sure, you will destroy what God's trying to build back together. And wait on the Lord. Have faith in the Lord that He knows what you're going through. He feels your pain and how you hurt. And I've been on for about a half hour, not just short of a half hour here, so I won't keep it much longer. But I want you all to know that I love you. I care about you. And if you want to write me and have any questions in regard to the topic of marriage, or even what you feel a functional marriage is or a dysfunctional marriage is, I'd love to hear from you all. And I will talk to you again soon. Love you all. Bye now.